Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark's ability to shoot the basketball is what makes everything else about their game so great. Because defenses know that those two players can pull up from 30 feet, they have to play them very tightly, which makes it easier for Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark to go around their defender, right? Allows them to get to the rim and finish. It allows for defenses to collapse, and they're able to kick out and find teammates that are open. Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark's shooting ability makes the game easier for themselves as well as for everyone else. Explosive plays in the NFL have the same effect. When you know the quarterback that you're playing against has the ability to take the top off the defense, it makes everything else easier. Okay? During the offseason, Colts head coach Shane Steichen made a point saying that he wanted for the Colts to generate more explosive plays. They did that on Sunday, and he was asked yesterday how they were able to create those explosive, big chunk plays.
Well, I think it starts with Anthony. Obviously, he's got a huge arm that allows us to push the ball down the field, and then we got the speed on the outside to go get it. And I think when you're explosive like that in the pass game, instead of having those 12, 13, 14 play drives, you get an opportunity to hit some big ones 4 or 5 plays into it, and that's what allows you to be explosive. And if we can continue that explosiveness down the field, it's definitely going to help us going forward for sure.
That was Indianapolis Colts head coach Shane Steichen talking about how they were able to generate those big explosive plays on Sunday. And explosive plays are incredibly important for offenses in the NFL. Look at the best scoring offenses in the NFL last year. All three of them, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Dolphins, all three had the ability to create big, explosive chunk plays. The Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, a guy able to get loose and create big plays. Same thing with Brandon Cooks. The 49ers, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, all four capable of creating big, explosive chunk plays. The Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, guys capable of creating big, explosive chunk plays. When you're able to create big chunk plays, it makes everything on offense so much easier. It's easier to score. It makes the underneath stuff easier. It is an important part of any offense in the NFL if it's going to be successful. Okay? If you don't believe me, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what they couldn't do last year? Create explosive plays. And because of that, that is the worst offense we've seen from the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. Okay, when you're having to spend every single drive, executing 10, 11, 12, 13 plays, it is incredibly difficult to score. Okay? The ability to push the ball down the field and make big plays in the passing game or even the running game makes offense easier. And when I look around the NFL and I look at the best quarterbacks, they can all do that. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow all have the ability and look for the opportunity to push the ball deep down the field. This is what separates good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks. Okay, guys like Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, average-ish quarterbacks don't have the ability to push the ball down the field. What happened to Russell Wilson? His arm strength went, his ability to push the ball down the field was gone, and he became a bad quarterback. Look at Peyton Manning towards the end of his career. His arm strength his last year in Denver was gone. He lost the ability to push the ball down the field, and he looks like a bad quarterback. That's the reality of it. You have to have the ability to push the ball down the field. Okay, and as I look at the young quarterbacks in the NFL, a lot of them don't do it, and that's why a lot of them won't be successful. I went back, I watched a lot of the young quarterbacks from Sunday, and guys not named Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud, most of them, all of them really, lived underneath. Bo Nix struggled throwing the ball down the field. Will Levis couldn't throw the ball down the field. Jaden Daniels, his numbers look good. He was like 17 or 24. Great. Guess what he didn't do? Throw the ball down the field. And they got crushed, and they didn't score very many points. Caleb Williams didn't push the ball down the field, and they scored 3 offensive points because of it. You have to be able to push the ball down the field and hit on explosive plays. That is the hardest thing to do in the NFL as a quarterback. And we just saw Anthony Richardson do it multiple times in week 1. Okay? It is a must-have. When we look at the Kansas City Chiefs, the best version of that offense was with Tyreek Hill. And it's not because Tyreek Hill is this incredible offensive player, even though he is, but just the ability and the threat of explosive plays made everything else easier for Patrick Mahomes. It did. It opened up the underneath throws. It opened up Travis Kelce over the middle. It opened up the run game. And that is what the Colts want to look like long-term with Anthony Richardson. They want to be this deep threat. We can hit a home run at any time type of offense that, because of that threat, makes everything else easier. Okay? And as time proceeds and Anthony Richardson has more than 5 starts as an NFL quarterback, and when Anthony Richardson is no longer the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL, he is going to get better at making the layups. And Shane Steichen was asked about making the easier throws, more specifically on third down, yesterday during his press conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, those third downs, 3rd and 4 to 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you got to get some rhythm going there for sure. And obviously, you don't want to be in those 3rd and long situations. I believe we had 10 third downs yesterday. We were 5 of 10. A couple of those were short yardage plays. But 50% third down, pretty good. Obviously, we'd love to be higher, but that's pretty good around the league. But yeah, you got to convert those things to keep the momentum and those drives going for sure.
And wouldn't you anticipate that coming with more experience with the quarterback? The longer you're gonna get better at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, more you play, the more you see, the more experience you're going to have. So I'm excited for this football team moving forward, and Anthony and everybody.
That was Shane Steichen talking about Anthony Richardson just improving at hitting the layups and converting, 3rd and 4 and things like that. He's going to get better at it the more reps that he gets. And I would continue to argue that the most important part of any offense is the explosive plays. Okay, being explosive and being capable of making big plays is more valuable than being consistent. Okay, because when you play against the best defenses in the NFL and you play in the playoffs and you're playing against the 49ers or the Chiefs who have awesome defenses, you're not going to successfully run 13 plays in a row and score a touchdown. It's not going to happen. You have to have some sort of element in your offense that allows you to create big plays. And you have to have a quarterback who is capable of making those throws. And Anthony Richardson is. And if you don't believe me about the importance of explosive plays, look at how the Chiefs have drafted since Tyreek Hill left. They have been searching for an explosive element in their offense. In 2022, they took Sky Moore, fast receiver out of Western Michigan, with their 2nd-round pick. 2023, they took a bigger but still explosive receiver in Rashee Rice with their 2nd-round pick. Then this year, they trade up in the 1st round to draft Xavier Worthy. It is required, if you want to have a great offense in the NFL, to have a guy that can stretch a defense and to have a quarterback that can hit big plays, because it makes everything else easier. When you are a constant threat to rip off a 40-yard pass play, it's tougher for defenses to defend you. It is. I remember those Chiefs teams. Part of what made them so great is because teams always had to play with 2 high safeties, because they knew that Tyreek Hill could get behind them, and that if they did, that Patrick Mahomes was going to make a throw. Okay? And so because of that, it made the layups easier. Throwing the underneath drag route becomes easier when there's 2 high safeties. Running the football when there's 1 less guy in the box becomes easier. Explosive plays are the most important part of any NFL offense. And the fact that the Colts show that they're capable of doing that is a great sign for things to come down the road. Does Anthony Richardson need to be more consistent? Yes, I've said that all offseason. Okay, but the fact that he, in only his 5th start, is capable of hitting these big plays, meanwhile guys like Will Levis can't, it's a good sign for the Colts and for Anthony Richardson and whether or not he's good enough to play in the league. Okay, he's going to get better at making the layups, at throwing the 4-yard slant, at throwing the 8-yard curl route. He's going to get better at it. And when that happens, this Colts offense is going to go to a new level. But even with that element of the offense absent, and even with no run game from Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson was still able to lead this Colts team to 27 points, which more times than not should be enough for the Colts to win their games. Okay, 268 of the Colts' total 303 yards came at the hands of Anthony Richardson on Sunday. If he starts hitting his layups, watch out, folks. This Colts offense is going to start rolling. Okay, a large part of why Anthony Richardson had all those yards was because of Alec Pierce, who I was wrong about in the offseason, and I would like to address that when we come back here in about 4 minutes.